do a couple dishes for ValpoLife that I like to do that are quick and easy and that you might be able to do at home. If I can do them, you can do them. First thing is breakfast, and I always like to have a little cinnamon roll or some sort of pastry. And I found this recipe and I thought it was great because it was easy and it has everything to do with the morning, with sugar and a roll, but it's quick, very quick. So first thing you want to do is you get a sheet of puff pastry. You can get the puff pastry in your grocery store, at the Wise Way, at Town & Country, wherever. They're sold in sheets, boxes. They have 2 sheets in a box, and they're very easy to work with. I normally, if I know I'm going to make it the night before, I take the freezer puff pastry and put it in my refrigerator, then it's a slow defrost. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 1 sheet of puff pastry, put it on a floured surface so you can move it around and it doesn't stick. You take some melted butter, because what we're first going to do is put the melted butter on there so the cinnamon and the sugar and the nuts stick to the puff pastry. So you're going to leave a border of about 1 inch on every side of the square so that when you're going to seal it, it sticks. So we're going to do this. I've learned that you don't put too much on because then you have a very greasy cinnamon roll, which you don't want. So we have our butter on. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some brown sugar. We've crumbled it up. Oh, I would say it's probably 1/3 cup or so. And you're just going to sprinkle it all over. You'll see why we're doing it this way. It's super easy to do it this way because then you just slice it. So we're going to put this brown sugar all over it. It doesn't have to be perfect. The best thing about they're not perfect. So we've got our brown sugar on. Next, we have some pecan pieces. And what I actually did, I didn't have any pecan pieces, so I had pecan halves, and I took a little mallet and I crushed them up, and now I have pecan pieces. So, you know, you kind of do. You could use walnuts. I was thinking this morning that I might want to do this with chocolate chips. Without the brown sugar, I'd have to adapt this, but you could basically put anything you want in here. Anything that would be good. All right, so I've got all this stuff in here. And the last, you wouldn't have a cinnamon roll without a little cinnamon. And I'm really not giving you any amounts simply because it's how you like it. Just make sure you put enough in there so that when the puff pastry does puff up, there's something in there. You know, you don't want it all pastry and no kind of gooey inside. So we're going to press that down a little. And then we're going to start rolling away from you, kind of like you're rolling up a jelly roll. You're going to roll it, try to make it nice and even and kind of tight. And now you see why we wanted to have that surface floured, because it's not sticking. That's very important. Okay, so now we've rolled it. Bring the seam to you. When you have the seam, you'll see it's here facing you. You're going to want to pinch it closed, kind of like you're crimping a pie crust, because you don't want the roll to unroll in the muffin tin. And that's another smart way to do it. If you put it in a muffin tin, they're not going to spread out. They're going to kind of grow to the size of the muffin tin, and you'll see that in a minute. We're going to just pinch that and roll it a little. Take a serrated knife, carefully trim off the ends that aren't even. First thing I do is I cut it in half, and from each half I cut it in thirds. And you want to use a serrated knife because you want to be able to go through that quickly because you don't want to shred it. So you're going to have 6 rolls out of 1 sheet of puff pastry. And each puff pastry comes in a packet of 2, so this will make 12 rolls. Next, I have a muffin tin on a cookie sheet for even heating, and I have a little bit of butter that I put in the bottom of it, because if you work with a cinnamon roll, you almost invert it. So I'm going to put butter and some pecans there to form that little crust, so when you take it out, you invert it, and then all that stuff's on top. So take a little bit of butter, I would say a teaspoon, an actual teaspoon, and you put it in your muffin tin. I have 6, so I'm going to kind of disperse it throughout the muffin tin so that it's evenly heated. I can't just do one side. Butter melts, the pecans will be there, and then that's what the best part of the pecan roll or the cinnamon roll is, that hard, sugary, nutty, kind of crunchy top. That's what we're doing. Then, with the swirl side up, so you can see all this, the good stuff we had that we rolled up, the swirl side up, you put it right on top of the butter so that when it expands through cooking, it will puff up to the shape of the muffin tin, and it'll kind of start the swirl and it'll look really nice, and you'll see when we get that out. So here I've got 6 of them, all finished. I'm gonna put that in a 400-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. You gotta keep watching it. I'm gonna take it out, and when we take it out, we're gonna let it cool a little bit, and then we'll invert it, and you'll see the crunchy top, kind of gooey on top. It's great. So we're gonna put it in the oven, and we'll see what happens. Let's check on my stuff. Ooh, looking puffy. Looking good. Here we are. And here is the finished product. You can hear them sizzling. See how we have the swirl there? So you can see it all puffing out. We're gonna let it sit for a minute. And when we invert them, you'll see all the crunchiness, and I'll get a nice plate so they look nice. Look at that. See, we got the crunchy on the top. Wow, ooh, this one's got a nice crunchy brown. And it was so easy with puff pastry. Look at that.